Dr. Lena Koenig's alarm chimed at 6:03 a.m., Tuesday, March 14. She rolled out of bed, jolted by the certainty that the day should not exist anymore. After all, she had already lived it 57 times. Day 58 began as the others had. Slow shower, oatmeal, slide deck review, and the walk to the Federal Science Foundation Tower, where a panel of granite-faced bureaucrats weighed her request for $50 million to build a tabletop quantum gravity demonstrator. Each loop ended the same way, at 5:17 p.m., just as she finished answering the final question, why should taxpayers fund another speculative leap of faith? Someone's phone would ping, fluorescent lights would flicker, and reality would dissolve into static. She would wake again to the 6:03 alarm. She had rewritten her answers, rearranged her slides, tried jokes, tears, stoicism, even brazen honesty. The ending never budged. The universe, it seemed, was stuck in an infinite regression, and Lena was the only conscious eigenstate aware of it. Maybe the conference room is a cosmic measurement device, she muttered as she left her apartment. Each afternoon it collapses my waveform. The only unmeasured variable in her routine was a detour she took for coffee across the street from the tower. The place was called Quark and Quill. That stop offered the one sliver of softness in the recycled day, a 10-minute span that smelled of cardamom and burnt espresso instead of recycled H-back and nerves. And it contained a human constant she had never tested, the lanky poet who occupied the corner seat by the paned window, headphones loose around his neck, brown curls obstructing one eye as he scribbled into a battered blue notebook. She had nicknamed him Schrodinger's bard because, like the cat, he was simultaneously present and absent. Present because he returned each loop, absent because she'd never dared disturb him. She assumed the interview panel, not the poet, was the key to escape. Still, on loop 58, doomed but stubborn, she changed an initial condition. She sat beside him. He looked up, midline. "Morning," he said, voice unhurried, gentle. "I'm Lena," she blurted. Then, embarrassed, she added, "Sorry, I'm usually non-intrusive." "I'm Milo," he replied with a smile, clicking his pen. "Non-intrusion's overrated." His notebook lay open. The line nearest her read, "The speed of sorrow measures out in caffeine spoons." She grimaced involuntarily. He noticed. "Not your flavor?" "It's evocative," she hedged. "I quantify the universe for a living. Metaphor can feel like fuzziness. Fuzziness is where the heart sings," he said, and for reasons Lena couldn't articulate, perhaps the sigh in that sentence, perhaps its unusual sincerity, she stayed 5 extra minutes. They talked about the shape of coffee steam, about superposition, about why poets favored windows. She left the Café buoyed, wearing a grin she feared would betray her seriousness once inside the tower. The interview ran. The phone pinged. The lights flickered. 5:17 vanished. Loop 59, alarm, shower, oatmeal. She returned to Quark and Quill and sat with Milo again. "Can I ask you something strange?" she said. He accepted strangeness like breath. "Always. Have you ever felt the present repeating? Déjà vu?" "More. Complete. Yesterday felt like today, precisely." His eyebrows arched. "Makes a good stanza, but personally, no." He hesitated. "Want to talk about it?" She did. Against reason, she poured the secret of her temporal prison onto the table. While she spoke, Milo turned pages backward through his notebook, jotting cryptic arrows in the margins. When she finished, expecting skepticism, he tapped a page. "Reread this," he said. The poem dated 3 weeks earlier. It described a woman of clockwork eyes, imprisoned by ticks, her threshold fear measured in plank lengths, and a door that opens only when unguarded by answers. Lena stared. "You wrote this before?" He nodded. "Maybe I've been waiting for you." Her scientific instincts screamed confirmation bias, but another part, an aching, lonely coil, thrummed in resonance. Milo closed the notebook. Let's run an experiment. Change nothing for the rest of the morning except one variable: how you exit this cafe. Pick a direction you've never taken. Wave to me as you go. Tiny perturbation. His voice warmed to her vocabulary. See if it alters boundary conditions. She laughed, surprised. A poet designing a control study. Words, equations, say moonlight, different prisms. She obeyed. She left the cafe, walking backward, waving. Passers-by stared. The panel's interview still ended exactly at 5:17. Loop 60. Yet something had changed. Milo believed her. Real belief transformed her solitude into collaboration. For the next 10 iterations, they tweaked variables. She wore mismatched shoes. She opened with a joke about gravitational foam. She canceled the meeting entirely and went ice skating at noon. The universe, unimpressed, reset every time. Loop 71, Milo said. Maybe the problem isn't the panel. Maybe it's the day's emotional equation. What feeling haven't you tried? I've tried everything from desperation to arrogance. What about love? She snorted. That's hardly functional, says the quantum mechanic who bonds quarks by exchanging gluons named love letters by bored grad students. She countered that gluons exchanged color charge, not romance, but Milo dismissed her protests with a lazy grin. We'll treat it like any variable. Introduce love. How? Observe. He offered his hand, palm up. The cafe's lighting caught the faint scars along his knuckles, each a story he hadn't told her yet. Against intuition, she placed her hand atop his. It was warm, steady. Something in her chest did a peculiar double-slit interference, waves overlapping. They spoke until the minute hand forced her departure. She squeezed his fingers before leaving. The tower's lobby seemed less sterile. The panel's eyes looked almost curious. But at 5:17 p.m. snap, restart, alarm, shower, oatmeal, loop 72. She rushed to cork and quill. Milo looked expectant. How many? He asked. 72. Patient Cosmos. Or sadistic. He motioned to the seat. Let's engineer a bigger amplitude. He pulled from his backpack a folded pamphlet open mic flyer. Tonight, 8 p.m. Problem is, your loop ends before that. Let's drag love upstream. Read a poem to the panel. She opened her mouth, closed it. Read a poem to the Federal Science Foundation? Risk is the quantum of hope, he said. The panel convened. Lena stood, inhaled, and, as the projector warmed, declared, Before data, a poem. Stunned silence. She recited Milo's newest verse about gravity as the universe's longing for union, about particles writing letters through the void. The poem landed softly. She sensed it in the panel's posture, saw one member bite her lip, move, yet the phone pinged, lights glitched, 5:17 erased. Loop 73, she met Milo already writing. We need constructive interference, he said. She sighed. I've described tachyon condensation faster than I can decode my heart. Milo tapped his chest. Different instrument. Start simple. What do you love? Physics? She expected that to sound small, but it rang true. And what else? She opened her mouth, found nothing. I don't know. I don't grant myself time. Milo nodded, scribbled. Homework. Learn something you love beyond physics before 5:17. She objected to homework in a doomed universe, then accepted. She skipped the interview, rode the subway to the art museum, stared at Kandinsky's Composition 8. Geometric spin, wild hues, a collision of order and chaos. She loved it. At 3:42 p.m., tears shocked her cheeks. She texted Milo. She had insisted he write the number on her forearm each loop. I love abstract art. At 5:17, though she was nowhere near the tower, the sky flickered. Her vision static, reset, loop 74. Progress felt real but intangible, like calibrating an interferometer only to discover cosmic variance. Milo listened to her recount the Cantidica epiphany. Good, he murmured. You widened your amplitude, now aim it here. He touched her sternum. She felt heat, fear, longing. She realized love wasn't an equation to balance. It was a boundary condition for being human. And maybe the loop persisted until she embraced that lesson fully. How do I aim it? She whispered. Risk speaking it. The cafe hummed, espresso hissed. She swallowed. Milo, I think I love the way you see the world. I love that you meet impossible stories with poems instead of doubt. Her voice trembled. I've only known you for what, a few linear hours, but for me it feels like months, maybe more. I care. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing the soft panic there. Lena, he said, voice thin with surprise. I love you too. There's no meter to contain that. Breath shuddered between them. The world stayed intact. No reset. 9:12 IMM ticked to 9:13. She felt a giddy possibility. They ordered scones to celebrate. The sky beyond the window remained relentlessly Tuesday, but alive in a new way. Then Lena panicked. What if I still have to attend the interview? What if love alone isn't enough? Then we go together, Milo said. He stood, slung his backpack. As they crossed the street, he squeezed her hand. In the lobby, security demanded ID for him. She vouched as guest. They rode the elevator up 33 floors. Inside the oak-paneled chamber, the same panelists sat. Lena's slides illuminated the wall. She cleared her throat. Before we begin, she said, I've invited someone. The panelists, accustomed to authority, bristled. Milo nodded, stepping forward. I'm not here for the grant, he said, voice calm. I'm here for the scientist. Lena inhaled. I've spent my career isolating variables. Turns out I isolated myself. The universe seems determined to make me learn that collaboration, love, isn't noise in the data. It's why the data matters. So today, instead of just answering your questions, I'd like to connect them to the reasons we search at all. She clicked to a slide that wasn't in any previous deck. It showed Kandinsky's riotous canvas on the left, her proposed quantum gravity interfero on the right. She spoke of pattern and color, of uncertainty and wonder, weaving art and equations into a story about human curiosity. Milo punctuated her points with brief lines of poetry. Every particle is a pilgrim, he recited, walking the path humanity lights by wanting. The panelists leaned in. Some smiled, none checked phones. 4:48 arrived, 5:00 clocked at 5:10. At 5:17, the fluorescent lights did not flicker. Instead, the lead examiner set her pen down and said softly, Dr. Koenig, thank you. I believe we have what we need. Outside, the hallway buzzed with ordinary end-of-day exhaustion. Lena's pulse hammered as she and Milo descended to the street. They emerged into twilight that for the first time in months of her subjective life felt entirely new. Car horns overlapped unfamiliar conversations. A cool gust suggested tomorrow might actually come. She stared at the sky, half expecting static. Nothing. The world rolled forward. Milo laughed, an unlooped laugh, lifting her by the waist, spinning her once. Looks like the boundary condition updated. Seems so, she said, awed. She checked her phone, 5:32. Every second that ticked was a birthday. They returned to Quark and Quill, which smelled of closing time pastries. Baristas cleaned grinders. Milo ordered 2 teas. Lena found their window seat, palm pressed against the cool glass to confirm its solidity. When he sat, she took his hand. What if tomorrow you forget? He asked quietly. What if only I remember? She shook her head. Then you'll remind me. Or I'll fall in love all over again. Data suggests I'm statistically inclined. He grinned, reached into his notebook, tore out a page, folded it, and placed it in her palm. Insurance. At home, in her apartment that seemed simultaneously ancient and newborn, she unfolded the page. It contained one line in careful ink. The universe expands because it cannot bear the distance between beating hearts. She slept. No alarm pulled her back to March 14. Sunlight arrived, Wednesday shaped, and Lena Koenig walked into it. the future unfolding like a probability wave at long last observed, entangled irrevocably with love.